So those lovely people at Arrtx have sent me these Syntap acrylic marker set, 48 saturated colours, 36 saturated colours. These are basically acrylic brush markers. Let's open them up so you can have a look. Very nice packaging, I have to say. Great variety of colours there, and at the moment they're all sort of mixed in together. Same in the other one. There we go. You can have a look there. So big variety of colours there. There's a lot of colours there. That's a lot of colours. This is going to be fun. So the first thing I want to do with markers, if I get markers like this, is I want to break them down into colour ranges. I want to group them together so I know what I've got. Because what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to put different colours, different values together. So I will show you what I mean by that. So this is what I mean. All the blues together like this. So I've pulled out all the blues. That's a slightly purpley one. That's probably a bit too purple actually to count as a blue. Probably wouldn't want that in there because that's going to mess up the values. There's a slightly turquoisey one. I'd have to see in my next stage whether that one is going to fit or not. But the rest, some of them look quite similar, maybe the same. That's fine. Yeah, it looks like them two might be the same, them two might be the same, they're the same. And then these might offer a nice alternative. Okay, so once I've done that, obviously I've got lots of other colours to do as well, but this is just to give you an example of how I would start, you know, with a new colour set or anything. Once I've done this, I want to make swatches. So let's do some swatches. So first off, let's have a quick look at this marker. So it's got a lovely big nib on that, as you can see. Now what you do in order to flood, you don't press down like you do with other markers that have got what you call them bullet nibs. What you want to do is you want to push on the end here, and what that does is it starts to flood the nib with the paint. Hang on, just realising I haven't shaken it up, so there won't be a good mix in there. Here we go. You see that coming through? So that will flood that, and then I can make a swatch. And that is a nice sort of looking, that's a nice baby blue. Yeah, nice baby blue, that one. So let's see what our next blue is. Give it a shake. I won't go through the same rigmarole again. So this one is a slightly darker blue, and that matches really nice with that one. So far I'm very impressed with the paint. That's lovely and opaque. Nice colours, nice colour range. I've managed to make a mess here already, obviously, because it's sort of what I do. Bit of a trademark brand thing for me, making a mess. By the way, making swatches is not just about colour matching in the moment. What you want to do, really, what you should do is this as well. You should date. This is what you should do. 26 September 2024. Now the reason you do that is you should keep your swatches and you should come back to them in maybe about 6 months or so, because what you do then is you check the colours and you see if they're faded or turned into something else, because what you can get is what's called fugitive colours. And fugitive colours are colours that often they vanish, basically. They fade, they vanish. Sometimes they turn into different colours. I think colours that turn into different colours are not technically fugitive colours. They're different. They're a different type of colour again. But basically, you want to know if they're going to stay like this or if they're going to change into something else. And now the reason that's important is because if you're doing a piece of art for a that's not completely flooded yet. If you're doing a piece of art for a customer or like a commission work or even a piece for gallery or something like that, like for instance, me and P Toons did a piece We did 2 pieces for a gallery show. And it was a big gallery show up in Shoreditch in East London. And, oh, I love that blue. This is one of my favourite types of blue. This is a slightly what's called a Hawaiian blue. Always been one of my favourite colours, that. Very nice. Goes very nicely with that middle blue. So we done this this piece for this show in Shoreditch. And it was fine. It was great while it was there under its frame. Got it professionally framed, very expensively framed, I might add, because we had to get gallery glass on it so that it wouldn't be too reflective and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, about a year later, I'm looking at this piece because it now hangs in my kitchen. And I'm looking at it going, this looks a bit weird, this piece. And I've realised that one of the pieces on it I did with style file pinks, a 420, a 450 and a 454 in style file, if any of you use style file markers. And the 420 is a fugitive colour. It's faded almost to white, which is a bit disappointing. That's nice. That's slightly darker than that one. So that one, and that one together, they provide you with 3 very nice blue values that will sit nicely together. Good. Very happy with that. And now I've got one more, which is a much darker one. So yeah, you want to become aware of fugitive colours. No, often it's not a massive deal if you're working in a black book or something like that. It doesn't really matter that much, because you're just chucking paint around, having a nice time, you know, doing stuff for your own benefit. But if you are doing commission works or works on canvas that you want to, you want them to survive, you want them to live for quite a long time, and then it's a problem, because you don't know which one's going to fade and which one's going to be okay. That's an interesting shade, isn't it? That's a sort of, I knew from, this is interesting, so I knew it was going to be quite an oily blue from the look of the pigment. This is, by the way, why you should never go on cap colour. Can you see the difference? The cap is really dark. And when I looked at that, I thought, does that really go with that? But actually, on the paper, all them blues work quite nicely together. Could easily make them work together, no problem. So, I put them all together. I've done my swatches. Now, you know, if I was really conscientious, I'd do it with all of these pens. I'd start, you know, pulling out the purples as well, putting the purples together. So straight, you know, I need to know that which of these colours work together because it gives me a shorthand when I come to doing a canvas. I don't want to be doing this in the moment, you know, when I'm actually doing the canvas, because then I'll start making mistakes. Because I'm hurrying to get on with the artistic process. I've got ideas, you know, my head's jamming. I'm going, yeah. And what I don't want to be doing is trying to find colours, fighting to find colours all the time. So ideally, you do this up front. In reality, I'm often too lazy to do it, let's be honest. So, you know, that's what it is. But for now, this is what I've got. So, let's assume that I've swatched everything. Let's move on to my piece of art, because I've got a piece of art that I want to throw some paint on. Okay, here it is. Nice little cute montage, as you can see. I've been wanting to do one of these for a while. Now, what I've done, this is a quick sort of, a quick top tip if you use inkjet printers to print out stuff like this. So this is the paper I've used. I've used a nice sort of smooth heavyweight. This is what, 220, I think? Yeah, 220. That's the weight of it. So it's not super thick, but it's just thick enough. It's got a nice smooth tooth on it, smooth grain. So it picks up ink nicely. I printed it out of the inkjet printer, and I've left this for about 2 days. And my experience is if you can leave it for like about 48 hours, the ink has a chance to really settle and dry properly, beds in a bit more. This is particularly important if you're using alcohol markers, because the ink in inkjet printers is often alcohol based. Sometimes it's water based, but it's mostly alcohol based. So that's important if you're using alcohol markers, because alcohol and alcohol used together means it's going to run. Basically, do not mix alcohol and alcohol together, because it will run. If you mix water and water together, it will often run. Mix them up is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, with that in mind, I'm using alcohol and paint. Now, paint technically covers everything, so I should be safe here. So first of all, I'm going to start laying some of this paint down, because I want to see how these markers perform. Where's that nice Hawaiian blue? There we go. I want to see how these lay down when it comes down to it. Now, opacity is one of the things I'm looking for. Where should I start on this one? Let's start with this big one. Opacity is something I'm looking for. How opaque is this going to be? And the answer is a very, by the looks of things. It's a bit of a challenge for me to use brush markers, because I'm quite heavy-handed. There we go. There are things you can do with a brush that you can't do with a hard nib as well. If I can just sort of discipline myself not to push, then I could get quite nice results there. Okay, yeah, nice. This is laying down very nicely. Very nice, great colour, right? I really love this colour. Really nice. Really, really nice. So, the great thing about these Arrtx markers is that they are also very reasonably priced. If you compare them with their more expensive competitors like Molotovs and Poscas, that I also love, but these ones are a lot cheaper. At some point in the future, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a canvas using Arrtx markers to see how they lay down on canvas, because on paper they're laying down really nicely. Really nice. Okay, good. I'll finish this one off, then I'll be back. All right, so I've blitzed that. Now, I would just say this this valve is very generous, actually. I just gave it a bit of, so it's getting a bit thin round here because I was exhausting all the paint in the nib. So I gave it a good pump, I don't know, about 4 pumps, and it came out a lot thicker, which is what you want, by the way. It's a very generous pump. It's a very generous valve. So I have to just be aware of that, because that is what you want, because there's nothing worse than getting a paint marker where you can't get paint through to the nib. And I'm sure a lot of you have had this problem when you get, particularly like the big fat Molotovs suffer from it sometimes. These ones, they really suffer from it, where you just can't get the paint through the nib, and it gets very frustrating. I've got the opposite problem with these ones. They come through very, very nicely indeed. So yeah, so far so good. Great colour, nice lay down. I would really love to see how this performs on a canvas. See, I'm slightly wishing I'd done a canvas for this already. Now, some of you will be looking at it going, that's a bit of a mess, actually. It's a bit messy. Number one, it's drying at the moment. Number two, I haven't really bothered to sort of, I've roughly kept the form, but that's because the beauty of working with the paint marker is that I will go around the outline again afterwards, tidying up the outline so it looks all nice and tight. And what you get is you get a nice uniformity of lay down in a way that you don't so much for alcohol markers. So ultimately what I'm going to do, I'll do the whole thing like this. Look at that, I've managed to splash that as well already. I find it, but by the way, that is caused by shaking a pen. I'm trying to shake it on camera, you know, so you can see me do this sort of stuff. You should never shake paint markers over your work. Anyway, I'm gonna do the rest now. And as if by magic, there it is, it's all finished. So let's talk about the paint, first of all. Let's talk about the paint in these markers. First of all, I say great flow. They're really easy to get flowing, and that is not always the case with paint markers. I've had paint markers in the past that have not flowed very well, and it doesn't seem to matter whether you use a cheap marker or an expensive marker. Sometimes if the valves are not that great on markers, then you do not get a good flow, and it's very, very frustrating. The flow on this was really good, and I tell you what I used a few times is I started to notice as I did this more and more, I started to notice that if I unloaded the paint on the nib, then the paint will get thinner, and it didn't affect the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is the opacity. So the opacity is really good, really, really good. Now you can see, I don't know if you can see this bit here on the Hawaiian, I just gave it a tiny bit of extra coat just here, and I noticed that I could get a slightly darker value and an even greater opacity. You want that in a paint marker. That's what you want. You want to be able to lay down twice, 3 times if you need to. I find this very useful because not only can it alter value, but it also means that you can get a much more uniform finish as well. So all that's great. Let's talk about color range. The color range is really good. Now, I'm looking for color range not just in and of itself. So let me just get these in front of you. This is a really cool color range. There's a lot of colors in here, as you can see. In and of itself, this is a good color range. What you want in a color range generally is you want to be able to match colors like I did before with the blues. You want to be able, like for instance, let's pull out a there's a light purple there. There is another light, look at that, it's even a lighter value there. This is what I'm looking for. That's given me, if I've got 2 values of one color, that is enough for me to work with to introduce different tones of light, different light tonality. If I've got 3, then I can make it an even richer illustration or canvas. Anything more than 3 is terrific, but 3 is optimal. So great color range, but there's something else about color range that's really important to me. And this doesn't apply to everybody, but it does apply to people who've already got paint markers. Now, if you've already got paint markers, then what you want is you don't want to be doubling up on colors generally. What you want is you want to be getting extra colors. Now, I've got full sets of Molotov markers and Posca markers already. So what I'm looking for in any other paint markers that I get is colors that complement what I've already got. And there are loads of colors here that Posca and Molotov don't do, which is exactly what I'm after. You know, like a color like, so this, yeah, these are like sort of yellowy beiges, stuff like that. These are colours that I can't get in other ranges that I already use. That's what I'm after. That's the colour range, and I'm really, really pleased with that. Really pleased with how many colours I've got and what I can do with that. Delighted with that. So I would say one thing which I was not quite as impressed by, and that's drying time. Look at that, the mess I made there. There you go. Drying time takes a little bit longer. That's the only minus I'd say for these markers. That drying time just takes a bit longer than it does for the other markers, maybe twice as long, which is not to say it's very long. You know, basically acrylic pen markers do not take very long to dry. Some people always say use a hairdryer, that kind of stuff. Work in a centrally heated room if you can. Work under light, quite fierce, close light. That will dry them up quicker as well. These just take a little bit longer, is all I would say. But it's, yeah, I'm finding, you know, I'm just trying to give you a balanced viewpoint on these markers rather than just sort of say they're amazing. But generally they are terrific They're really, really cool markers, and I'm very glad to have the backing of Arrtx. Now, they did send me something else as well, which I'm just going to show you very quickly. New sketchbook. I haven't had a new sketchbook in ages and ages and ages. And I'm mostly working the B4D book now, as regular viewers will know. But I'm going to have a go in this one because I'm quite interested to see how it works. So it's got a mixed pulp paper material. I've worked on that before. It's 180 GM squared, so that's a little bit thinner than what this is. This is 220, so it's going to be a bit thinner than that. So it'll be interesting to see how alcohol markers work in this paper. But I'll do a piece in here another time. But yeah, 60 sheets of that. It's a nice heavyweight book. Nice quality. Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see. I'll make another video where I unwrap that and do a piece in there. But for now, this is what you get from these. Now I'm going to put a link in the description so you can have a look. You'll be amazed how reasonably priced these are. They're a very, very good price. And I'm also going to be running a competition very soon so that you can win a set of these that Arrtx are going to kindly supply. That's going to be coming up very soon, probably in the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye open for that. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that, guys. As you can see, nice colour range. I'm already thinking I'm going to do, next one I'm going to do on this one, I'm going to do another one where I do a canvas. It's just I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do at the moment, canvas-wise. So anyway, I will be back. We're going to use these on canvas. We're going to see how they shape up.